All right, good morning. Good morning. What's going on, everybody? Thank you very much for being here. Hopefully, everybody had a nice weekend. Monday, August 11th, 8 a.m. on the dot. Thank you for being a part of the Sliwa Show. Hoops Talk here. Yep, we are right in the thick of the off season. Still some good topics that are out there. We'll still make it happen here. We'll still find the right topics to get into. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Got a quick rundown that I'm going to give for everybody as we get ready to get started. First off, enjoy a piping hot cup of coffee. Piping hot cup of coffee. Cup number 2. So hopefully you guys are enjoying whatever you're drinking. Tea, water, whatever it is you guys got going on. Hopefully that will help get your morning started. Okay, so we got a number of things I want to get into. No guests today, so you're gonna have to listen to me for a full hour. There's a few different topics that I want to hit on. I know Eurobasket is going on right now. I'm not going to hit too much on that. We'll wait till the games actually matter. But we got a number of different things that we're going to get into. So I saw on Friday, was it Friday or Saturday? I know our show was done, and then you started seeing a little bit of the details. The schedule is going to start leaking out. So probably expect this week Lakers schedule will be out. So that's always kind of fun, in the NBA to kind of see, all right, what are the opening night games? What are the Christmas games? What teams are getting boxed out? What teams are always getting in and don't necessarily deserve to be in? So we'll get a little bit into that. We do at least have Christmas games, and we also have, let's see, we got the Christmas games, and we got opening night. So those are, I know, the 2 nights. So a little bit of a schedule release. We'll talk a little bit about some of the games that are out there, games that we like, games. How did this team not get into the mix? So we'll do a little bit of that. There was a report out there, no more moves for the Lakers. Just don't expect anything else. So I think there's some reality there. I think that's not a surprise or a shock. I mean, hell, free agency started almost a month and a half ago. So to still expect moves at this point, I wouldn't be expecting moves. That doesn't mean that the Lakers won't be making moves once the season starts, but it just means for now, probably don't expect any other moves. I'll throw this out there to people as well, so everybody kind of gets a little bit idea. Needs for the Lakers. What do they still need? If you're looking at areas that are most important for the LakeShow that you still feel like they need, what does that look like? We'll talk about that. I think there's 2 obvious positions. I think you can make a case for a big, and I think you can make a case for another 3-and-D player. So to me, those are the 2 positions Lakers are most desperate in need. Maybe desperate's too strong of a word, but if they're going to go add something, they got to be addressing those 2 positions. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Stephen A. Smith, I saw something this morning, was talking about LeBron, basically indicating or encouraging him to eventually end up in Cleveland. We'll get into that for a quick second. I don't know if you guys got to see Maxi Kleba and the shape that he looks in. So he looks great as well. It's not just Luka Doncic. We hit on something on Friday that I want to go back to, how much of Luka being a Laker is part of the reason why he looks the way he does right now. How much of motivation is it that he is a Laker? We'll hit on that. Bronny might get some minutes this upcoming season. That's coming from Nate McMillan, assistant coach of the Lakers. And then there's an Athletic article on concerns around the NBA, and we'll get into that as well. I'll do the weekend recap. Call today. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the show. All right, let's take a look at some of the comments here. What are people saying this fine morning? Hope Rob can make another move, wing and backup center. Yeah, I just don't think they got enough. And we'll get into that when I get into that topic, but I just don't think they have enough true talent, you could say, from a big man perspective. So we'll see. And a lot of that's also going to have to depend on what happens to their current bigs. Is Ayton better than we thought he was going to be? Not. All that's going to come over time. Hardest part isn't the workout. It's showing up when you're tired. Fitness isn't built in big moments. It's built in the quiet, unglamorous decisions you make every single day. It's a great quote, Ocean Breeze. to hit the gym right after this. It's actually a real one right there. I'm going to hit the gym after this. We got the off season. It's the off season right now. You can't let it get away. I'm letting it get away sometimes. All right, let me get a couple more of these in here. 5 p.m. in Germany, ice cold, cold zero. Let's go Lakers. Try to get Isaac Bonga. 3 and D wing with 40% threes. Great defender. Lakers draft 2018. I saw an article on I think they had Germany. Was it Slovenia had Germany on, what was that, Friday, early Saturday morning, something like that? All right. Good morning to everybody. Everybody else saying good morning. Good morning to you as well. Good morning. All right, let's get the show started. Let's get started here. Schedule release. So Shams comes out. We won't spend too much time on this, but might as well do it. You got, like I said, this week. Typically, this is around the time of the year where the NBA is just kind of like, all right, well, let's see. We already had the NBA Finals. We already had the draft. We already had free agency. They've leaked out everything they possibly can. And then this time of the year, I remember when I was on radio, we'd be looking like, all right, when's that schedule coming out? It just kind of gave you another talking point to hit on in the offseason. So I do think there's a little bit from that perspective of the NBA kind of strategically starting to leak out the schedule. By the end of this week, I think we're going to have the full schedule. So I think we'll have an idea who the Lakers will be playing, everything else. Not that it specifically matters because you're going to play the Golden State Warriors 4 times. You're going to play the Sixers twice, whatever the case is. But I think there's, key games or key dates on the NBA schedule that always is of interest. So let's start with this. Opening night. I think they got opening night right. I think they got opening right. Okay, let me go back to this. They got the first game right in opening night. The Rockets at the Oklahoma City Thunder. Love that matchup. Phenomenal matchup on opening night. Rockets went out there. They made some moves. They're knocking on the door. Oh, by the way, it's Kevin Durant going back to Oklahoma City to watch them raise up their first banner in OKC, something that KD and the crew wasn't able to do when he was with Russ and Harden and everything else. I'm not even taking a shot at KD. They just weren't able to do it. I mean, part of that you can blame the front office for trading James Harden, and then eventually KD decided, all right, I'm out of here a couple years later. But I love that matchup. The Rockets at OKC to start off the 2025-2026 season. Phenomenal matchup. Great for theater. When that banner's going up, if the Houston Rockets players are out there and when OKC is getting their rings and they're fitting that ring on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams and all those other players, be a couple cameras kind of keying in on Kevin Durant. So I think that they got that one right. The second game on opening night, I don't think they got right. The Warriors at the Lakers. I'm a fan of, I think the Lakers, yes, they will be box office, all of that. And I'm not telling you that Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, specifically Steph Curry, ain't box office, but I feel like I've seen the Warriors and the Lakers. I feel like that one's been shoved down my throat 88 times over the last couple of years, probably because it's been shoved down my throat 88 times over the last couple of years. I don't need to see the Warriors again. I'm not as crazy about this matchup. I would have loved to have seen if it was Denver at the Lakers, if it was Mavs at the Lakers. I think that would have been a better matchup, a more exciting matchup. I could name off 3-4 teams in the Western Conference that I'd rather see before I get to the Warriors. That's a personal opinion. It doesn't matter. The NBA knows what they're doing. Clearly, Steph Curry is still box office, as is LeBron, and of course, Luka. So opening night in the NBA, Rockets at OKC, Warriors at the Lakers. Love the first matchup. Not as crazy about the second matchup, but Lakers will get a chance to obviously start the next this upcoming season at home, and they'll get a chance to obviously do it against the Golden State Warriors. So the Warriors, who have been completely tied this offseason, haven't really had a chance to do anything because of the situation with Jonathan Kuminga. Maybe by then, DeAnthony Melton and Al Horford and a couple of other, and Kuminga still on the team. Maybe they trade him. I don't know. So we'll see what eventually happens for the Golden State Warriors. But Opening night, that's your schedule. Rockets at OKC, Warriors at the Lakers. Christmas Day games. I'll read your comments here in just a second. You guys can, give me your thoughts on everything else. By the way, can we not have just simplified this? Put Dallas at LA. I mean, isn't that? Would you rather not see the Dallas Mavericks at the Los Angeles Lakers on opening night? You're obviously getting an opportunity to see. Go down the list. Anthony Davis, a former Laker. Luka goes up against his former team. Jason Kidd comes back, obviously, as the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flagg, the number one pick. I mean, there's so many better storylines than the Golden State Warriors because I've seen that movie so many different times. But that's my personal opinion there. Okay, this is on Christmas Day. So, as always, Christmas Day, we'll have 5 games coming up on Christmas Day. Here are the 5 matchups. Cavs at the Knicks to start things off. Phenomenal. No problem there. You know what I've always had an issue with? People used to get mad at me when I was on radio because I hated when certain teams got Christmas Day and they didn't deserve to be there. And there was a time, Lakers went through a stretch. This is before LeBron became a Laker. Lakers kept getting Christmas Day. I'm like, they don't deserve it. Don't give them Christmas Day. People are, oh, you don't understand. It's the franchise this. I get all that. Put the teams that deserve to be there on Christmas Day. And if the Lakers just aren't good enough or nobody's expecting them to be good, take them off Christmas Day. That's what comes. That's kind of how the territory is. I used to always lose it, and this still happens on Thanksgiving. Before the Lions were good, I'm like, are you really putting the Lions on Thanksgiving? Before the Commanders were good again, are you really putting the Commanders back on? Oh, it's tradition. Okay, why don't we adjust here and just put the best teams on? I want to watch good games on Thanksgiving. I want to watch good games on Christmas Day. I think they got it right for Christmas Day. I don't really have an issue with it. I mean, maybe people can make a different argument. I'm sure there's going to be teams that are left out that people wish were on there. But here are the 5 games they got going on Christmas Day. Cavs at Knicks. That might be the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference. Phenomenal, great, makes a lot of sense. That's also the only game they're giving to the Eastern Conference. Why? Because there's just too many other good teams in the Western Conference. So I think this is actually a smart play. Spurs at OKC. Phenomenal. The second game on Christmas. So you got your 10 a.m. matchup, Cavs at Knicks. Was that? They'll go 9 or 10, probably at 10. And then 12, 12:30, whatever it is, they'll go Spurs at OKC, get a little Wembanyama, get the youngsters for the Spurs, get De'Aaron Fox, and then get the defending champs, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Rockets at Lakers on Christmas Day. Great. There are plenty of storylines there, from head coaches to players to the game will be chippy, to 2 teams that ended up 2nd and 3rd in the Western Conference last year. I think that's phenomenal. Mavericks at the Golden State Warriors. That's your, what would that be? Maybe a 5 o'clock. I think that will be a 5 o'clock tip-off, something like that, give or take. And then they will close out the night with the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Denver Nuggets. Anthony Edwards, Nikola Jokic. That's all you need to know right there. Those are your 5 games on Christmas. So Christmas, I think they actually hit it. Now, I know there's going to be some teams out there that say, there's other teams that you didn't include that you should have included. Okay, you might be right, but they put 8 teams in the Western Conference playing on Christmas, so you can't really ask for anything more there. And then, frankly, part of the reason why the NBA left out a lot of these teams in the Eastern Conference, Indiana's not expected to be great. If you want to make an argument and say, well, where are the Milwaukee Bucks? Okay, maybe you could have done an East and a West matchup there and put Giannis in the mix. I don't think, too many people would argue on that one. Boston obviously is not good. So there's a lot that you can consider here. But I think, for the most part, I think they got Christmas right. And opening night, I gave a little bit of my thoughts as well. So again, expect this week there should be a good amount of games that are there, or I'm sorry, a good amount of at least the schedule that's going to be released. Probably this week, you're going to get a lot of get a lot of the rest of the games that will be in front of us. We'll get a few talking points from there, and then we'll obviously call it a day in regards to the schedule. But That came out over the weekend, maybe even came out Friday after the show, and now we're obviously hitting on it, and it gives you an idea of what's coming up. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the comments here, see what people think. People agree with me, disagree. This part's fun. I don't know. People may say, Al, you're an idiot. Wouldn't be the first time. Okay, let's see what we got here. So Lakers versus Mavs. Okay. Some people wanted Lakers versus Mavs on opening night. I honestly, I think that one's a no-brainer. I know some people are saying here it's because of the Bron and Steph rivalry. We're not done with that. Is that how much longer can you squeeze the juice out of that one? Yeah, I'm good. I don't still see a Bron and Steph rivalry, especially now because, a lot has obviously changed with the Lakers. For all I know, this is going to be a great game and it's going to do phenomenal ratings-wise. But if you asked me, Al, what would you rather have on opening night? Lakers versus Warriors or Lakers versus Nuggets? Give me Nuggets. Lakers versus Warriors or Lakers versus Mavs? Give me Mavs. Even Minnesota. I would watch Lakers. I'd be more excited to see the Lakers versus the Wolves because that's the team that just took them out in the playoffs. There is a storyline. It is Anthony Edwards. I'm just, I'm good. I feel like every time I've turned on the TV over the last 5 years, it's Lakers Warriors. Every time. And when it's funny when the playoffs, we're getting closer to the playoffs last year. And they were starting to look at matchups. And I'm like, please, anybody but Golden State. I don't want to. I've watched that matchup so many times. I know a lot of people probably disagree with that. But, certainly for me, that's the case. Rather see Lakers T-Wolves matchup. I agree. And I think there's like a specific storyline to that. It's like, yep, that team knocked out the Lakers in this arena, a couple months ago or something along those lines. This is hopefully a new look Lakers. Now they have a big man. I like some of the storylines that go with that. The NBA, they disagreed with me. At this point, does KD even remember he played in OKC? Of course he does. Come on, some of KD's best years were in Oklahoma City. But you're right. It's not like this was a year ago. You're right about that. A lot has happened since then. He's been well removed from that team for a while, but he'll always have a tremendous amount of history with the Oklahoma City Thunder. A tremendous amount of history. KD will be in the locker room. They'll still find a camera. Get a camera on him. Yep, let's watch Cooper Flag crush the Lakers. Guy's going to take some time. Christmas Day is for the NFL. Let's actually see this. Christmas Day. Cowboys, Commanders, Lions, Vikings, Chiefs, Broncos on Christmas Day. There was a time where the NBA was, yep, that's our day. You can have that day until the NFL says it's not your day. And if the NFL, which now does this on Christmas, says, yeah, we're going to go ahead and take that day as well, then there's almost nothing you can do. Literally almost nothing that you can do. Western Conference teams will be in prime time on the East Coast. That honestly just has a lot to do with just the mere fact that the NFL or the Eastern Conference just doesn't have any healthy teams right now, or teams that you feel like New York's good. Cleveland should be good, but the power's in the Western Conference, and the injuries are in the East as well. Wolves didn't knock out the Lakers. Luka was hurt and sick. If that makes you feel better, then by all means, tell yourself whatever it is that you need to tell yourself. All right, that's a little bit of the schedule there. I was reading an article this morning. Lakers plan no major trades until season fully underway. So let me kind of just get into that here real quick. I want to talk a little bit about this. This was coming from a Western Conference executive. I'm going to read this whole little piece here because I think it's going to get into our conversation. Still, the feeling around the Lakers is that the team is pretty much set as it is, and that no major trades are forthcoming until the season gets rolling. the Lakers have had opportunities to include the likes of Gabe Vincent and Jared Vanderbilt in trade packages already, but have declined to do so. And then here's the quote from a Western Conference executive. By the way, I'm grabbing this athlonsports.com. They usually got a lot of articles that are NBA related, a lot of Laker related as well. So that's why I'm grabbing this from them. Hoops Hype kind of took the clip that I'm grabbing here. This is one Western Conference executive said. They have not been attacking the trade market by any stretch of the imagination, talking about the Lakers. Most teams now are in a sort of wait and see mode, and I would include the Lakers in that. They want to give it some time before they make a trade. Okay, so that's it. Then I think it's safe to say that probably the offseason is officially over for the Lakers. And listen, it got stretched. I think the conversation that we had about the Lakers, and it's not uncommon for the first 2 weeks. Free agency is really over in the NBA. This one kind of leaked a little bit longer. Guys in the buyout market. Are the Lakers going to make another move, this, that, or whatever? I do think this roster is done. I do think this roster is complete. So there are kind of two topics I want to tie in together. Number one, is everyone kind of good with what the Lakers have and what they did in the offseason? And number two, what is still their biggest need, their biggest glaring need? First, let me just kind of address the title of this topic here. Lakers plan no major trades until season fully underway. I think it makes sense. I think Lakers are at a point right now where now you got to kind of just wait and see, how does this all look? I don't think the Lakers need to overreact. I think the beauty for the Lakers in the situation or the position that they're in is they definitely have players now that they didn't have this past season that fit well, that you feel like will contribute to the team. Not really having any size. Okay, well, Maxi Kleber now gets a full offseason. What's he look like? Can he contribute at all? Jackson Hayes is now not your number one big. He's your number two, maybe even number three if Maxi Kleber can make a little bit of noise. DeAndre Ayton is 26 years old. He's coming off he's coming to a season that's so critical for his career. What can that possibly mean for him? Marcus Smart. All right, there's another player. If he's healthy, can he be the player that he was 3 years ago when he was in Boston? It's not like he's 35, 36 years old. He's around 31, 32 years old. Does he still have some, mileage left in the tank, gas left in the tank? And we're obviously going to wait and find out here. Did Luka, who reportedly lost 30 pounds in the offseason, did Luka Doncic, with what he was able to do with his offseason, is he an even better version of himself? Is he a leading candidate, MVP candidate throughout the season? Is Austin Reeves a little bit better? Is Jake LaRavia going to be a player that maybe not enough people are talking about? Is Gabe Vincent, who's going into the final year of his contract, along with Rui Hachimura, are these important years for them so they could prove and show that they still got a lot of value left in the NBA? I think the biggest question for the Lakers is going to be, how much do the new pieces fit to what you currently have, and how much do the existing pieces, how much did they get better from the loss against the Minnesota Timberwolves to the start of next season? And I think there's a lot of question marks there. So I don't think it would be fair to put this pressure on Rob Pelinka. You didn't do enough this offseason. No, I thought he did what he needed to do. I thought, the moves that the Lakers made, I definitely think that they will be able, a lot of these guys will be able to help the Lakers. And then internally, if some of these guys can just get a little bit better themselves, then that could have a major difference. But why just go kind of start acting in desperation and making moves out there that you don't really know you have the full story yet? Let training camp come on October 1st. Let the season start. Give October, November, and December. By the time you get to January 1st, I think you're going to have a pretty good idea of what the team is. And then by then, you can start acting. You can start, okay, you know what? We know this. We know that Gabe Vincent is still not giving us any value. we might have to attach a pick to go try to, go make a move for him. You know what? Dalton Knecht has turned things around. He's got more value. Let's see what he offers. Rui Hachimura, he's the same inconsistent player. Maybe we got to go shop him around. We don't have enough bigs. Our bigs are not making it happen. Ayton's not making it happen. We got to go see what we need to fill in whatever voids that they have. I think the Lakers not planning to make a trade until the season is fully underway, it sounds like the right thing to do. It sounds like what they addressed in the offseason is going to need some time to see, hey, will this thing marinate or will it not? Will it be successful or will it not? What are areas that we thought, oh, this is definitely going to work and it doesn't work? What are areas that the Lakers think we didn't think it was going to work and it is working? So I'm not really surprised or shocked that the news out there is the Lakers probably not making any big-time moves. If you also see the way, I think some Laker fans, there's some frustration over this, and then I think for other Laker fans, there's some understanding of it. I think if you also see the way Rob Pelinka has maneuvered for the Lakers, he's a lot more active around the trade deadline than he is in the summer. And a lot of the moves that the Lakers have made have come during the trade deadline. And whether you want to look at D'Angelo Russell or Jared Vanderbilt or Rui Hachimura, I'm going to kind of keep going down the list here. Of course, Luka Doncic, Dorian Finney-Smith. He's made a lot of moves that were primarily around the trade deadline, and I don't think that's going to be too much of a shock if the Lakers are in a similar position. I do think there will be, and, again, whether people agree with this, they disagree with this, I think there's always going to be for the Lakers weighing do we give up a draft pick now, or are we trying to accumulate 3 first-rounders for next season to see what happens around the rest of the NBA? Are we shedding some salary and some guys that are in expiring contracts to try to win right now, and it makes the most sense, or are we thinking more long-term? So I think a lot of those questions still going to have to be answered, and I don't think anybody has answers for those questions at the moment. But I'm not surprised that the Lakers are waiting for the season to fully get started, kind of know what they have before they start making any moves. All right, let's see some of the comments here. Greek Freak will be here by the trade deadline. I will say this, and I think there's some truth to this, at least from my perspective. And there's an article I mentioned in The Athletic that's going through. Let me see what the title was for The Athletic. And Giannis Antetokounmpo was a part of this. There is a little bit, I think the Athletic article on concerns. So, like, how concerned should the Bucks be that Giannis is not happy in Milwaukee? And they rate that 1 to 10. I'll get to that a little bit later. But I said this before on Giannis, and I'm not trying to make a case that Giannis, guy's coming to the Lakers, anything like that. You cannot tell me that what the Bucks have built and what they're trying to do is not sheer desperation at this point. And if Giannis stays in Milwaukee, hats off to him. It's just going to be simply, I want to be a Milwaukee Buck. I don't want to play anywhere else. I'm looking at guys like Dirk Nowitzki and looking at guys like Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan. And I just want to be a player that stays with the same team for my entire career, because I don't know if he's going to be doing it from a basketball perspective. They got dead money with Damian Lillard. I think their roster definitely has a ton of flaws. But if you asked me, do I think Giannis Antetokounmpo will finish his career with the with the Milwaukee Bucks? I don't. That's one personal opinion, but that doesn't mean he's going to be a Laker. And we all know the only way he can be a Laker is by basically saying, I'm only going to play for the Lakers. And I think there's a lot of benefit in that if that's what he decides to do and he teams up with Luka Doncic. I think, it will be by far the most box office, not by far, but one of the most box office teams in the NBA. And he'll have legitimate chance to win not a championship or another championship, but potentially multiple championships. Okay, let's get another one here. I think Rob did what we needed him to do. Get us out of desperation mode so teams can't take advantage of us for everything that we have. Yeah, and I did a show last week. Last week I did a show. Cheers to you. did a show with Trevor Lane. So Trevor, I went on his show on Lakers Nation. And I think the vibe that I was getting, and Trevor and I talked a little bit before the show, we talked a little bit after the show. He said that, or we were both talking about it, that the vibe from some Laker fans, it's like, what are they doing? They're not doing enough. Get rid of Rob, this and that. I don't, if I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think people are reading this the right way. I don't think there should be some screaming of, you got to get rid of Rob. Rob hasn't done his job. Rob has made some decisions that have not made sense for the Lakers. Rob has made some decisions that have been impressive for the Lakers. And if you don't think Rob deserves at least a couple years to figure out this Luka Doncic chapter, I don't think you're being fair to Rob Pelinka. That's what I think. I think Rob has earned a couple more years as the guy to run the Lakers front office. And if in a couple years we're sitting here and we don't think the Lakers are going in the right direction, then that's up to the current ownership and new ownership that's coming in to make that determination. It's the same thing I would say with JJ Redick. For those that once Lakers were eliminated in the playoffs against Minnesota, and JJ Redick got out-coached, no question about it. No question about it, got out-coached, made poor decisions. He'll be remembered in that last playoff run for doing something that no other head coach has done in the history of the NBA, which is never making a sub in the second half of what game was that? Game 4 against the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think it was. That's what he's going to be remembered for in that playoff run. That doesn't mean he should be fired. That doesn't mean that Lakers didn't win 50 games. That doesn't mean that they weren't a number 3 seed in the Western Conference. But yes, does every year now, will you look at JJ Redick and be like, all right, well, maybe that spotlight gets a little brighter? Sure. Maybe the spotlight's a little bit brighter on Rob as well. I thought Rob did what he needed to do this offseason. And it doesn't mean the Lakers are going to walk into the year as a favorite. They're not. But let's see what he does. I think the Luka chapter and trying to figure out Luka and LeBron at the same time is not, that's not an easy chapter to figure out. Let's get some more here. Ayton and Reeves have the biggest prove it this year. That's interesting. I think Austin Reeves, I think he has been. I think this year will be fascinating for Austin Reeves because Reeves is in a, if you're going to get paid 30 plus million a year, then you got to show that you're worth 30 plus million a year for a 4-year contract, right? That's part of what Austin Reeves is. The other part of Austin Reeves that it's prove it this year is, can you also show that you and Luka can be wildly effective together? Because I'll tell you who's not going to get traded. It's going to be Luka. But if it's not as good as it needs to be, or the Lakers look at Austin Reeves and say, listen, we enjoyed our time with Austin Reeves. We thought Austin Reeves was a really good player for us. He came up through the system, but at the end of the day, we got to get players that make sense for Luka Doncic. Well, Reeves might be the biggest chip that you have in going to get a piece that makes sense to go, put along Luka and try to build the championship roster that you're trying to build. The DeAndre Ayton one, that one's kind of a no-brainer, right? Yes, this is a big time season for DeAndre Ayton. A couple weeks ago, Michael Thompson joined the show. And Michael said, I asked him, I said, what did you make of the offseason? This, that, all that. And he goes, it's all going to come down to one player, DeAndre Ayton. If Ayton is not the player that he's supposed to be, the number 1 draft pick, the potential that he has, doesn't take his skill set and doesn't take his potential and completely get every ounce of it, this could be a tough year for DeAndre Ayton, or it could be a resurgence in his career. So, Rob did what he's been doing for 4 years. We got the crumbs as always. I'm waiting for new management to come in. Their evaluation will be priceless. Listen, I'm not telling you that Rob Pelinka, and I'll put JJ Redick on this as well. I'm not telling you that both of these guys they don't have a magnifying glass on both of them. But I think they're going to both be here for 2 more years. And I'm just using that number because that gives a proper amount of time to gauge the Luka chapter. And I think it gives a proper amount of time to see if JJ's the right head coach for the Lakers for the next 5 years or not? We'll find out in 2 years max if he's the right coach for the Lakers, if he's going to be a head coach in the NBA for, a number of years to come. All right, let's get another one of these in here. First off, HH. Super sticker, HH, thank you. Thank you very much. 10 spot right there. Thank you very much. Very, very kind. HH always coming through. So thank you very much, HH. Thank you very much for the super there. Greatly, greatly appreciated there. All right, let's get a couple more of these in, and then I want to get into the biggest need for the Lakers. Let's see. Let's see. Nobody's going to change my mind about Rob. We can agree, disagree. We're all entitled to our own opinion. Period. Rob is a fair. Always have been. This is a business. Yeah, and I think it's going to be the same way, even if I'm one that thinks that Rob has done a decent job. Remember, he traded for Luka. You want to give him credit? You should give him credit, but nobody wants to give him credit. There's nothing I could really, do about that from that perspective. But I think at the end of the day, we'll have to, obviously, we'll have to kind of wait and see how things go under the Luka era. And specifically, again, the reason why the conversation started, Lakers plan no major trades until season fully underway. That is going to be what the Lakers will have to figure out once the season starts. What are the changes they need to make? And I don't think they need to make any changes at the moment anyway. So let's kind of keep going here. There was another piece of this that I wanted to put here. The Lakers' biggest need. So as we do sit here, and I think we can all agree that they're probably not going to make any moves between now and the season starting, and probably not going to make any moves between now and you get to January 1st. What will they need to address most? And, I was reading a couple articles out there. And, one article was, do the Lakers have enough size for now? Are they good? Are they good from a big position? My answer would be no. I don't think they're good enough from a big position. Do they have enough wings? No, I don't think they have enough wings. Are they deep? No, go look at teams like the Denver Nuggets or the Houston Rockets or the Oklahoma City Thunder. Those are the top three teams in the Western Conference. They got much more depth than the Lakers do. But if I had to kind of narrow this down, and I'll take everybody's opinion on this as well, the Lakers' biggest need coming into the 2025-2026 season. I got a couple areas, but I'll try to narrow it down. Let's first talk about the size. So one of the areas for the Lakers that was so obvious during last season, and it was the reason why the Lakers were eliminated in 5 games against the Minnesota Timberwolves. They were pushed around. They were bullied. Even if they weren't bullied, they just didn't have enough size. And you got Dorian Finney-Smith trying to box out Rudy Gobert. You got Austin Reeves trying to body up Jaden McDaniels. Ain't happening. I mean, there was a quote from Jaden McDaniels, I remember, might have been after game 1. He's like, there was a time where I was the biggest guy on the floor. And I don't even know if he was talking about biggest guy for the Wolves and the Lakers, but he was saying that at least going up against the Lakers, he was the biggest guy. So you just take the ball to the rim. He's like, yeah, nobody's going to stop me. I can just get to the basket anytime I want to. And that was when I think Jaden McDaniels had one of his best games in the playoffs. Did the Lakers really address their size? Well, I think they addressed it, but I don't feel comfortable about it at all. I think, obviously having DeAndre Ayton will be a big benefit to the Lakers. If I look at some of the needs that the Lakers have, I don't really look at the bigs that the Lakers have right now and say, oh, okay, they're good. I don't know what it is about Jackson Hayes, but for me, I think he's, obviously trying as best as he can, whatever his skill set is, trying to make it happen in the NBA. I'm never going to feel great about Jackson Hayes as a backup center. Maxi Kleber, I think, will be interesting. I mean, I saw some video of him. He looks great as well. I mean, just looking at he's kind of taken a little bit of a transformation as well. I was reading about this a little bit earlier. 33 years old, by the way, but he had a couple of highlights where all of a sudden he looks like he went on a major diet as well. He looks like he's in a lot better shape. He was in the gym, kind of showing a little bit of his athleticism. I don't know what to expect from Maxi Kleber. I think with those three players, you can't tell me. I mean, the Lakers really are going to go from not having any size at all to now, or just having Jackson Hayes. Kleber, remember, didn't play until Game 5 of the Lakers elimination game against Minnesota. That's how desperate they got. That's the only time that he played. This year, you're going to get Ayton, Jackson Hayes, and Maxi Kleber. So you got a lot more depth from a big man perspective, but I think you still got a lot of question marks. I got question marks about Ayton. I got question marks about Kleber. I got question marks about Jackson Hayes. Do I think that's the biggest need for the Lakers? I don't think it's as big of a need as a wing player. You know, one of the things that, if you look at this offseason, there have been a couple storylines out there. One of the bigger storylines for the Lakers was, do they make a move for Andrew Wiggins? And the reason why Wiggins was, obviously such a big name for the Lakers is they're desperate for a real, true 3-and-D wing player. And, we'll see what some of these players are able to do. I'm never going to put stock on a rookie to come help a team. You just never know what's going to happen. Most likely, he will not be ready to contribute for a couple of years. I think we see that in the NBA all the time. I mean, we kind of watch Max Christie struggle for 2 years plus, and then all of a sudden he got it going, and that was in his third year, and then he got shipped off to Dallas. So I'm not going to ask, Thero to all of a sudden come into the NBA and he's a player that the Lakers can depend on. Doesn't mean he might not get some minutes. Doesn't mean he might not get a couple of lobs here and there, things along those lines. But I have a very difficult time thinking that the Lakers will be able to depend on a player like that. To me, a 3-and-D player is what the Lakers need most. We'll see about Jake LaRavia. We'll see. We'll see what he's able to bring. The reason why some of those trade rumors were strong about Andrew Wiggins, and I always hesitate to make a move with a team like the Miami Heat, because it is a smart front office, and they didn't pay Gabe Vincent $33 million, and the Lakers did. And maybe they saw something that, no, we got everything that we needed from him. His stock is too high, and it's never going to be any higher. We're not going to take it. And I'm not telling you that the Miami Heat are perfect, but I'm telling you that the Miami Heat obviously have great structure, a good front office. They're a smart organization. Are there some other areas that the Lakers need? Sure. If Marcus Smart is not the player that he was a couple years ago, then you're going to need another on-ball defender. There are going to be areas that the Lakers need, no question about it. But I think the two that stick out to me from a needs perspective, if they do get to that January 1st date, I think it will become more and more glaring that a 3-and-D player and potentially another big is going to be in the cards for the Lakers. You go look at some of the teams right now. Denver's got size. Houston's got size. OKC's got size. The Clippers have size. There's teams out there that got really, really good size. So I think there's going to be a lot of question marks when it comes to that. And certainly for some of the teams that are out there, they have, size is kind of back in the NBA. Now, maybe it's used differently. It's not your traditional big man. There's some traditional big men in the league, but size is now important again in the league. And I think for the Lakers, they're going to need some of that size. So as I look at some of the biggest needs, those are a couple that stick out to me. All right, let's take a look here. Let's take a look at Luka has not been impressive for Slovenia. He'll be okay. Let me see here. When I'm behind here. I think people are arguing about championships. Let's see what we got here. How many teams have won 2 chips in 15 years? Lakers have won 3 in 16 years. So, yeah, I think the biggest question, we can do the math any way that we want. I think the bigger question is, since Dr. Jerry Buss passed away, they have 1 championship in that span of now, let's call it 13 years, something like that. They got 1 chip. So, I think that was the bigger question. Now, a lot of that probably gets reset once, obviously once you, a lot of that will get reset now that new ownership is coming in, and it's going to be gauged now in a different barometer. Disney doesn't count. Talking about the bubble championship. Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm kind of done. Done arguing about some of that stuff. Maxi's biggest issue is that he was always a hesitant shooter. If you want to open the paint more, teams need to take him seriously behind the arc. He'll get looks. I mean, if he's healthy and ready to go, and Lakers will give him opportunities, I think they will. Remember, he's on an expiring as well. Him, Gabe Vincent, Rui Hachimura, all on expiring contracts. If the Rockets are overhyped, so are the Lakers then. Both second and third seeds in last year. Rockets have KD now. Lakers have an unhappy LeBron. I don't think the Rockets are overhyped. I think they're progressively getting better. They went 7 against Golden State. Warriors are always going to be a tough matchup, and obviously they were playing good basketball last year. I think they addressed some of the needs that they had. I think Ime Udoka is a phenomenal coach. I think Rockets are legit. I think they're going to be competing for to come out of the West. I really do. I think that's going to be a team that a lot of people are going to be looking at next year as a real team that's got a shot. Lakers have won the most championships in modern. I don't know if that argument, I don't know where this argument is going, but they have. I mean, I don't really think that's an argument. They've been by far the most successful team over the last 40 plus years. By far the most successful team in the NBA over the last 40 years. Okay, so hit on some of the needs. Hit on, obviously, Lakers not making any moves in the summer. Don't expect any additional moves in the summer. Wait till the season to start before the Lakers are really doing anything from that perspective. There was an article out there. How much weight did Luka actually use? So right now, obviously, Team Slovenia, you got the exhibitions going on leading up to the 2025 Eurobasket tournament, which will start, if I'm right, I think the date is August 27th. So a little bit over 2 weeks until it actually starts. Luka looks phenomenal. He looks great. I mean, even somebody here that has always been critical of trying to give anybody credit for being in shape, and you're an NBA athlete. I mean, I don't want to give you credit for being in shape. That's your job. But I will say that Luka has looked phenomenal. So there's a story out there just to give you an idea how much weight that he lost. A new report from Dallas Hoops Journal's Ashish Mathur answered that question over the weekend. NBA superstar Luka Doncic at the Los Angeles Lakers has lost 30 pounds since last summer. A league source told DallasHoopsJournal.com. Doncic was listed as 230 pounds with the Dallas Mavericks and Lakers last season. He's at 200 pounds right now, the source said. So let's put it this way. We know that the guy lost probably at least 20 pounds. And Luka looks in great shape. And I was having a conversation on Friday. We were talking a little bit about this. What's Luka's motivation right now? And we could, nobody's going to really be able to answer this. We're just going to try to assume what we think is some of his motivation. And on Friday, Sammy was on the show, and we're talking a little bit about, Luka. And I can't remember how the conversation came up, but I wonder how much him being a Laker has maybe put some pressure on Luka. Like, if he was in Dallas and he was able to look it didn't matter how he looked. By the way, the guy was delivering as well. He had got to the Western Conference Finals. He had got to the NBA Finals. He was one of the best players in the league in Dallas. He was a superstar, international superstar. Any way that you want to kind of slice and dice it, I mean, Luka was as good as you can possibly be from an NBA perspective, and the trajectory of where he was going in Dallas was obviously an unbelievable trajectory. But if there's one thing that you could knock him for is the guy in tip-top shape? No, he wasn't. Could he have got even further? Maybe he could have won an NBA championship if Luka was in better shape. We'll never know that question, but obviously for an NBA athlete perspective, you're much better off being in your best shape than not being in your best shape. How much of him getting in the shape that he's in right now has to do with him being a Laker? I don't think it's nothing. And let me kind of just explain what I mean here. And again, it's not that the guy didn't care when he was in Dallas. Of course he cared. Of course he wanted to win the Dallas Mavericks an NBA championship. Of course he wanted to be the best version of himself, but I don't think he was the best version of himself in Dallas. We'll have to wait and see. We'll see what he ends up doing this upcoming year on a more kind of lean diet. Obviously looks so much better from a conditioning perspective. We all remember the quote of JJ Redick getting into championship shape. He's probably talking about Luka, but I think there is something about him being a Laker. And I think there's, more to it than that. I think it's when he left in Dallas, the reason why they traded him, reports that were coming out there, the fact that he was always having kind of these nagging injuries, did that have something to do with his weight? Clearly, the Dallas Mavericks didn't think he was in tip-top shape, and he wasn't. So, I don't think anybody needs to go out there and be like, oh, Dallas was, yes, they were idiotic for trading him, but they also were not wrong for saying that he wasn't in tip-top shape. He wasn't. He comes to the Lakers. He was with the Lakers for 2 weeks. And I'm doing, post-game shows and doing the live show, reacting every morning and all that stuff. And you know what a lot of the theme was and a lot of the comments? They're like, Luka's fat. Luka's not in good shape. It only took 2 weeks for Luka to go from the Dallas Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers, and it was the most shocking news, and it's a day that everyone will remember in sports history. Where were you when Luka got traded? That's how big of a deal it was. And it only took a couple of weeks. Now, I know he didn't come back to the Lakers right away, but the moment he started playing for the Lakers, it took 2 weeks, and everybody was like, yeah, the dude's not in shape. Yeah, Luka's getting cooked. Yeah, I know why Dallas traded Luka now. There came this expectation instantly. Once he got to the Lakers, it was like, brother, you got to get your ass in shape. And maybe that wasn't always there with Dallas. I don't know. I wasn't covering the Mavs. I wasn't watching every Dallas game. I wasn't doing a post-game show for the Dallas Mavericks, but certainly he was beloved in Dallas, and it kind of probably didn't even matter what he did. They just loved Luka Doncic. That was one of theirs. He was drafted by the Dallas Mavericks, and one day maybe he was going to win a championship with the Dallas Mavericks, and that was going to be good enough. Dude came to the Lakers 2 weeks later. People are like, are we seeing this extra weight that this guy is holding? I don't know if Luka, his motivation in the offseason was Mavs trading him. I don't know if it was, hey, I get a full offseason now. I'm going to be in the best shape in my life. I don't know if it was a wake-up call. I don't know if it was, I just came to the Lakers, and all this franchise is known for is winning. And if I'm going to give myself any shot at being the type of legend that I want to be, I cannot let my weight get in the way of what I need to do on the basketball floor. I don't think that's nothing. I do actually think that there's something there, that him being a Laker had something to do with his transformation to his body and what he looks like today. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'm being a little dramatic on it, and I'm not even trying to give the Lakers too much credit. I'm just saying that it didn't take very long for him to be a Laker. And most franchises out there would look at it like, oh my God, I can't believe we just got Luka. And 2-3 weeks later, it was like, Luka, you got to get in shape. And, certainly for a franchise that's accustomed to winning, it's accustomed to legends, it's accustomed. I mean, the best example that I can give is somebody that's currently on the Lakers, who's 40 years old, and something that you and I have never said. You can bitch and complain all you want about LeBron. You could say he's the greatest player you've ever seen. You could say he's the most annoying player. You could say whatever you want because everybody's got an opinion on LeBron. But one thing you could never say about LeBron, that dude has never had an issue with conditioning and being in shape. He just hasn't. And if maybe he's not the same player as he was 5 years ago, 7 years ago, 10 years ago, that's because he's 40 years old and he'll be 41 by the time we, turn the calendar and get to January 1st. Okay, we will take a look at a couple of the comments here. If I moved to Dallas and lived around Cowboy fans, I too would drink more beer, smoke hookah. Shot at the Cowboys for no reason? Hell if I care. I mean, take as many shots at them as you want. Skinny means even less defense. That's going to be, a part of Luka for himself as well. That I think, I I said, how can Lakers kind of improve their upcoming season? A lot of it's going to depend internally as well. Is Austin Reeves a little bit better? Is he also a little bit better on the defensive side? Is Luka better and also a little bit less of a liability on the defensive side? I think there's a lot of players that are on this team that it's also going to depend on what they do individually. Let's see what he got here. He lost weight for his country, not the Lakers. All right. Then he's going to put back 20, 30 pounds by the time we get to October 1st. If that happens, I'll find your comment. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, let's take a look at a couple more here real quick. Let's see here. Luka looked really different his first 3 years in the league and got out of shape. Two things can be true. But it's not okay. You know, that's the problem. The problem is for Luka is you can't be a player. And I know people are going to say, yeah, but look at Jokic. Could I say this about Jokic? And this is somebody, and we all got a chance to watch the Lakers versus the Denver Nuggets for 2 straight playoff appearances, and Nikola Jokic won an NBA championship. That motor wouldn't turn off in the fourth quarter. There are a lot of times Jokic would take over a game against Anthony Davis in a fourth quarter in a playoff game. So I don't think it's, not every player is the same. I also think it's different, just a center to a guard. Jokic can be a little bit more out of shape based on the position that he plays, but I never thought it affected the motor of Nikola Jokic, and I thought it affected the motor of Luka Doncic. So something to keep in mind there. Okay, I got a couple quick other topics to get into, and then we will call it a day. LeBron James urged to leave Lakers for one team by Stephen A. Smith. So I'm assuming this happened maybe this morning because I was reading, I was putting together some topics. Sometimes I put together topics the night before and in the morning. This morning I was putting together some topics. Stephen A. Smith was talking on a recent segment on First Take. I'm just going to read the quote here, and we could take it from there. Here's what he said. But getting specifically to LeBron, it has got to the point where I think it warrants it. Why don't you just come back to Cleveland and end your career? Stephen A. Smith was saying. This cannot be disputed. He'd have a better chance to win in Cleveland than he would in LA. The road through the Western Conference is basically the road through the Western Conference is tough. Obviously, look at Christmas Day as an example. 8 of the 10 teams playing on Christmas Day are all in the Western Conference. It shows that's where all the talent is, and that's where all the players are. So basically what the case he's making is he needs to go back to Cleveland for his third stint. Okay. Can I just say this real quick on the LeBron topic and what LeBron should do and everything else? This will help kind of put a bow in the LeBron topic. We know this. We know that LeBron is going to start this season with the Los Angeles Lakers. We know that. We know LeBron will be ready come October 1st, training camp, and he's going to give everything that he's got. What we don't know is what will happen between the start of the season and the NBA trade deadline. We don't know what's going to happen there. And then we certainly don't know what's going to happen after the season ends. But how about we just start with this? October 1st is going to come. LeBron's going to be a Laker. And to try to predict what LeBron's going to be if his contract ends with the Lakers, to try to predict that, to be honest with you, I think it's at this point, unless there's more articles that come out or LeBron really is not happy with the Lakers situation, doesn't want to be a Laker anymore. Maybe a statement comes out through one of these, reporters or something along those lines. I'm kind of good on that LeBron topic for now. I know LeBron's going to be a Laker starting October 1st. And what happens between October 1st and the February, whatever date that is, 5th, 6th, 7th, I don't know what it is for, the next trade deadline. What happens between then? There's a lot that can happen based on what the Lakers look. What if Lakers look really good this year? And by the time they get to January 1st, it's like Lakers are one of the top 3-4 teams in the Western Conference, and they still got a lot of assets that they can go give away to go try to improve their team. You think LeBron wants to go somewhere else? I don't think that will be the case. And it's a completely different conversation once this season ends what LeBron will want to do after that. And I don't, obviously I don't have an answer to that, so we'll have to wait and see. But I think the conversation of, well, what's LeBron going to do next year? Let's worry about it next year. Will LeBron be a Laker by the time the trade deadline? Well, let's see what the Lakers look like by the time you get to January 1st. So I just think as of now, most people should look at LeBron and look at it one way. He's a Laker for now. He's a Laker going into training camp. And this team's got a chance to be really competitive in the Western Conference. And I think the more competitive they are, I think the less noise you're going to hear from LeBron in his camp. So we'll see what happens after that. But that's one of the things, just one quick thing I had there on the LeBron thing. And just wanted to throw that out there. All right, let's take a look. Watch LeBron. Okay, if that happens, then we have a real conversation. But that's not what LeBron does. Guys, I've said this before, and I really, really think, for those that, whether you love LeBron and he's never made a mistake or every move that he makes you can't stand, one thing you cannot bitch and complain about LeBron is very simple. LeBron is real deal, will always be real deal. And when he's on the basketball floor and when the season starts, he's obviously going to give your team everything that he possibly can to win. If something changes that, then we'll have that conversation. All right. Let's look at a couple more here. All right. Hope he requests a trade. All right. We'll see what happens. By the way, by opting into his contract too, I mean, he took away a lot of that power if he did want to go somewhere else. I think a lot of this also has to do with just there's an attention seeking that's out there, and certainly he gets a lot of that attention. Okay, I'm gonna save this Athletic article for Wednesday because I think it's a lot longer than, and I want to kind of spend some time on it. So there's this article from the Athletic, and it hits on a lot of more NBA topics. So I'm going to wait on that. I think we can hit on that over the weekend, or I'm sorry, on Wednesday. Probably have a guest on Wednesday as well, so we'll do that. All right, let me do just real quick here the weekend recap, of course, presented by the Wallace Firm. Injury attorneys. If you're in a situation or a position, wallacewins.com/Sliwa, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. He can help you. He's helped other listeners. By the way, shout out to our listeners because they have personally reached out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace Firm, said that they came to them based on, the show that we're doing here and the ad reads that we're doing here. So that's awesome that this partnership is obviously good business for him as well. A quick couple of things from a weekend recap. Really, really good baseball games over the weekend, and this kind of leads us to where we are as far as standings go. We'll just go right back to the NL West here real quick. Dodgers pick up 2 games, or Dodgers win 2 of 3 against the Toronto Blue Jays. Had a chance to sweep them, didn't do it yesterday. The Padres get 2 of 3 against the Boston Red Sox. So both teams in the NL West taking on really, really good competition in the AL, and both teams win 2 of 3 games. So something to keep in mind there. There's a 2-game lead for the Dodgers right now in the NL West. And then kind of weird what's going on in the wild card in the NL. The Mets have lost 7 games in a row. They're 1-9 in their last 10 games. I think they've lost 11 of 12 or 12 of 30, maybe 11 and 12, I think is the number that I read. They're just kind of holding on for dear life to get into that playoff picture. So something to keep in mind in regards to that. And then the other New York team struggling as well. The Yankees barely holding on to a playoff spot. So the Yankees made obviously the World Series last year. The Mets made the big signing of Juan Soto last season, and or in the offseason. Both of those teams just barely holding on to a playoff spot. As far as the schedule goes, so just to kind of give everyone an idea, see if there's any good games coming up this week. Oh, I know there's good games coming up this week, but just this current 3-game set. Dodgers are taking on the Angels. Padres are taking on the Giants. So it gives you just an idea if you're paying attention in the NL West. A really, really good series in the AL. Red Sox taking on the Astros. So that's a little bit of our recap from over the weekend. NFL schedule, getting a little bit closer. Still got a ways to go. But there's going to be, week 1 as far as all the preseason games are in the books. So now preseason week number 2. What do we have starting? I think everything's going to start on Friday, if I'm right. Yeah, Friday they'll play some more games. So something to keep in mind in regards to that. All right, let me read a couple more comments. Like I said, I'm going to save that one article for a little bit later, and we'll do that on Wednesday. I'd prefer to do that on Wednesday so we have a little bit more time for it. Okay, let me look at the last couple of comments here. I think Connect needs a new start on another team. I love what I saw from him to start the season, but after the trade, he's not the same. Yeah, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I completely agree with that. I think, at the end of the day, he's probably best off somewhere else with a new team. We'll see if that happens. I think the Lakers would rather build his stock again and then see if they can go make a trade. But yeah, I don't disagree on that. I'm not sure exactly what to. I'm not really sure what to expect from Dalton Connect this upcoming year, but I don't know how positive I am about what Dalton Connect is going to be and how much that the Lakers are going to depend on. I don't think they're going to depend on him all that much at all. All right, my people, that's all we got for today. What we do? $1.05, $1.06. Thank you for being a part of the show. Appreciate you guys hanging out here in the off season. We'll be looking for some good topics anytime that, obviously I got something good to share with everybody. We'll bring it in on the show. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys don't mind. Please consider being a member. $3 a month to be a member. Just go to the channel, click on join. You could be a member. It's a great way to support the channel as well. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. No show tomorrow. Remember, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for now. So thank you all for being here, and I appreciate you guys being a part of the show. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday morning.